guys getting a piece of the action off of Facebook with your names and Facebook.
Well, we're trying to figure it out.
That's right. It's the American way. I want my piece of the action, you know?
Do you hear
Well,
about?
since I'm going to be on a radio show today, am I going to get a piece of the pie here?
Yeah.
You guys getting
We don't have any
commercials and all?
money to give you, Ben. You just got to do this out of the kindness of your heart. Brother, we'll let you publicize your website, but that's about all we got to offer here, man. Did you hear about this story I'm talking about?
Yes, I did.
What'd you think about it?
Well, let me just start out by saying, first of all, we do understand the plight of true poverty. We understand that. But, one of the things we need to understand is that poverty in America is diametrically opposed, different to poverty in most of the rest of the world. In the rest of the world, everybody just about is poverty-stricken. The mean average income is $300 a year. Now, you heard that right. Not $300 a month, $300 a year. The reason we have so many people from Mexico flooding our borders is because the mean average salary in Mexico is $1,500 a year, and that's the closer you get to the United States border, the higher the salaries are. So I understand what we're talking about here, but when you talk about real poverty, people need to understand the difference between poverty in a biblical-based society, which Western society is, and society in, say, Africa, India, China, places like that. That's true poverty, not in America.
Why do you think that is, Ben? Why have we been so blessed financially?
Because we started this country based on the principle that man is endowed by his creator. We acknowledge the creator of the universe at our founding. The Western civilization, and America in particular, is founded on the biblical principles that God established for the nation of Israel. This is why the United States has been the richest country in the history of the world, because we acknowledged God in our founding, and over the years we have kept God at the forefront of everything we did until just very recently we have changed that, and now you're starting to hear talk about us going over a fiscal cliff and losing everything we have.
That's interesting. You should bring up mostly Mexicans, although there are some other Latinos from Central American countries that have, come over our borders, and, in search of work and to better their lives. Now, the interesting thing here is, though, it is a study in contrast of our founding principles, because here you have Mexico and the United States and their neighboring countries, their bordering countries, and yet one is impoverished and socialistic and got drug gangs. And this is not to speak anything about Mexican people, because I love Mexican people. I gave them a lot of my money in Cancun over the years,
yes.
Okay? They're very friendly, hardworking people in general, so I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, why is it that Mexico's so poor and America's so wealthy? Now, America's got debt problems now, but I'm talking about traditionally. Why is it that is when they're neighboring countries?
Well,
you wouldn't think that would be so. Why do you think that's so, Ben?
Well, if you go just north, we have another neighboring country called Canada, and we don't have any problem with Canadians sneaking across the border to try to find jobs in America. And the reason is because they applied based on their farm association with England, and England's old principles, which made England great to begin with, was their acknowledgement of God. And in every country where you find that God is given his proper place in all of our overall actions, you'll find this happen. But when you put God at the bottom, and when you substitute, and this is very important, if you substitute religion for God, you find yourself in the same position that these people do who worship socialism and these forms of non-charity, unquote.
Do you think there's any difference between a Protestant foundation and a Catholic foundation?
Oh, absolutely. And I'll say that from the standpoint of experience. I went to Catholic school for 4 years in Texas because the high school for blacks did not exist in my hometown when I was going to high school. So I went to Catholic school, and I was influenced by the Catholics, and I became a Catholic and stayed in the Catholic Church for many years thereafter. But I also was raised going to the Methodist Church on the first and third Sundays, and the Baptist Church on the second and fourth Sundays, and the Pentecostal Church on the fifth Sunday. So I've had a chance to see them all in action, and yes, there is a marked difference between Catholicism as it is generally practiced in third world countries and the United States and Christianity.
Yeah, I did want to, because we have a lot of Catholic listeners, obviously, and this is we're not demeaning the Catholic Church at whole.
Oh, by no means.
No means. But there is a difference. I mean, there's an obvious difference because it's. You look at countries. America may be the only country I can think of with a Protestant foundation, and you have the so-called Protestant work ethic. The Catholic Church has traditionally embraced big government and socialism, and they akin that to Christian charity. Mm-hmm. Now, you can argue about that. I would argue it's not the same.
America is taught. We were taught from childhood on that man is made in the image and likeness of God, and consequently that every individual is responsible to God and to himself for what he does. The Bible is, let me make a mistake that a lot of us made. I made for many years. The Bible is not a religious book. I want to say that again. It's not a religious book. It is not about religion. In fact, let me ask you a question. Tim, if I were to ask you and Ray a question, that if I ask you a question and you gave me 7 responses, and of those 7 responses, 6 of them were negative, what could I reasonably assume about your feelings about this particular subject?
That we were extremely negative about whatever the topic is.
Exactly. In the Bible, there are 7 references to religious or religion. And of those 7 references, 6 of them are negative, which would lead you to believe what do you think God feels about religion?
Okay, I got you.
Exactly.
We're tracking here. Okay.
Religion is man's idea of how to please his concept of God. If you want to know what an individual's concept of God is, look at his religion. Because that's what religion is, how to please their concept of God. We do not have a religion. We have a relationship with the Creator who placed such an enormous value on human beings that he was not willing to go through eternity without them. Therefore, he sent his only begotten Son to redeem us, to give us all the opportunity, and I want to stress that point, the opportunity to be with him forever. But here's the deal, and this is what is critical to what happens in America. Human beings, which is what we acknowledge in America, are made as sovereign individuals. That means we have and are born with the right to choose how we will live our lives. This is the reason that the civil rights movement was so an integral part of where I am in America today, because citizens in America said it is not right for you to treat a measure of our population like that. Give them equal rights. Sovereignty implies the right to choose one's destiny. In America, that is a foundational principle of our society, that in America you can be what you want to be if you're willing to sacrifice and study and apply yourself. You can be almost anything you want to be in America.
If that voice sounds familiar, you've heard it before. We're talking with Ben Kinchlow. For many years, he was co-host with Pat Robertson on the 700 Club. And for the past number of years, he has been the head of a ministry called Americans for Israel, also serves as co-host of Front Page Jerusalem. He's the founder and CEO of AAPAC, African American Political Awareness Coalition. He also serves on the National Council on Bible Curriculum in Public Schools, written a number of books. Ben, just wanted to make sure we said all of that. And tell us where people can find you and your writings on the internet.
Well, if they can spell Kinchlow, Kinchlw, they can go to benkinchlow.com and check out my website. They can also go to WorldNet Daily, and I write a column for WorldNet Daily that comes out every Monday, so you can go find out about that. So benkinchlow.com is where you can find out the latest and the greatest.